First of all, I think this is a great project. I think it's going to be beautiful and a great way to honor a great man. So thank you for all the effort that you and your team have done to bring this to fruition. Yes, yes. Thank you, everyone in the audience that's helped. My question was whether or not it's actually an expenditure, an authorized expenditure of tourist development tax. And in order for it to be, it has to have a primary purpose of developing tourism. The statute outlines things that can be spent on building a sports facility, marketing, some other things. And then it says it has to have, the local government has to have a legislative finding that determines that it is primary and directly to develop tourism. And so I asked the deputy county attorney if she could find anything that, like there's attorney general opinions, et cetera, if there was anything that would help support this project. Kristen, will you come up and speak to it? I know you don't have a whole lot to say about it, but what you have, would you please share?
So looking at the plain language of the statute under subsection 5, in my opinion, I do not see any particular subsection in which this particular project would fall as an authorized use, because I wasn't clear about who owned the underlying property, which you say would be city-owned. However, it's my understanding that the improvements, the memorial itself, would be owned by a private nonprofit.
No, it would be owned by the city,
Okay.
to include the statue, all elements. In fact, the aircraft is leased directly to the city. They will not lease it from the Air Force Museum to anybody else other than the city or Veterans Group.
Well, I was not aware of that aspect. However, it would still have to fall within one of these categories. And I did not find any legal authority construing the TDT statute that would, at least, you know, it doesn't constitute a museum. It is not, well, and actually under 5A6, we don't qualify for that, which is what it's pretty broad, what just talks about public facilities. So it's not a, let's see, auditoriums, you've got the convention centers, sports stadiums, sports arenas. Other than that, it boils down to expenditures that would constitute the promotion or advertisement of tourism, and in which case I think funding would be authorized to promote an event, provided that it is going to promote tourism, such as a ribbon cutting or something of that nature. But to pay for the facilities for a memorial plaza, and I will admit, I did not know the ownership aspect. I assumed it would all be privately owned. But still, I did not find any authority.
Happen to see this? Tourist Development Plan adopted.
I'm sorry, where is that from?
This is from the Tourist Development, let's see, 90-57.
That's our code of ordinances,
Yeah.
which was just amended.
Yeah, it says the tax revenues received pursuant to this article shall be used to fund the county tourist development plan, which is hereby adopted as follows. Components. The components of the tourist development plan are as follows in order of priority. The acquisition, construction, extension, enlargement, remodeling, repair, improvement, maintenance, operation, or promoting of one or more publicly owned and operated civic, arena, sports, cultural, convention complexes within the boundaries of the county.
That's, I think, tracking what's in the statute, which actually that provision was amended with this most recent amendment to the ordinance. Where is it?
So, Kristen, we couldn't call this cultural tourism?
Right.
I mean, that's kind of what I.
Which provision?
So Kristen, would we be able to ask, would the county be willing to ask the Attorney General for an opinion?
I think it would be wise to request an opinion from the Attorney General's office.
To see
And
if we
that's what
could
I
spend it.
suggested when you had asked the question
Yeah.
before, because I'm not able to find any established legal authority, and
Can this board request an Attorney General opinion, or does it have to be the Board of County Commissioners?
I think we have to,
I think it would have to come from the Board of County Commissioners.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we recommend it to,
So
Do you guys want me to bring that to the next meeting?
I would, because I'd like to figure out if there's a way for us to support this project.
So under the plan, even as amended, what's in the plan states, the acquisition, construction, is this what you're reading? Extension, enlargement, remodeling, repair, improvement, maintenance, operation, or promotion of one or more publicly owned and operated civic arenas, sports, cultural convention complexes within the boundaries of the county.
So would this fall within,
Yes.
as a definition of a complex?
Yeah, I would,
It's, so, but I think,
you can have.
Convention
parties there, you can have
complex?
Public events there, you could have concerts there, you could have all sorts of events on this, because it's gonna be 160 feet long, 75-foot wide.
I took that to mirror what's in 5A 1A, which is publicly owned and operated convention centers, sports stadiums, sports arenas, coliseums, or auditoriums. And that's in the TDT statute.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
we, of course, by ordinance and in the plan, can't go beyond what's authorized in the statute.
Right, right. And so that's why I asked the county attorney's office to just let us know, because we've spent the last 2 years really talking about what's authorized and what's not authorized, and we don't want to make any missteps moving forward. And, but we want to
And I
find
can
a
certainly
way.
take another look at it, knowing now the ownership, and see if that may change the equation, but from what I recall, it did not. It still
Okay. Well,
did not fit squarely within any one of the subsections.
Would this board like to ask the county commission? Would y'all support asking the
Absolutely.
county commission to ask
Absolutely.
the attorney general for an opinion?
absolutely,
Whether-
minimum. At minimum.
Councilwoman?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question here on this 3A, and I don't know if yours is different from mine, but it says, in the acquisition, construction, and so forth of the publicly owned and operated civic arenas / sports, cultural convention complexes within the boundaries of the county, there is a museum complex as far as cultural.
There is a what?
There's a museum complex.
Right, so we need to,
That would, and if
we
that-
need a
if
ruling on
that
whether
falls
this
under
meets that
cultural. If
that
that falls under
definition.
cultural, that's the question?
No.
No, I don't think that's a question, whether it's a cultural complex. I think that's,
Or museum, I mean, her argument is that it's museum.
The museum is 3 buildings, it's the museum, it's the actual museum, it's the Flight Academy, and there's about to be an extension constructed. It'll be 3 different, it's formerly a complex.
On this,
on this property, or are they?
It's
separate?
in the county.
Yeah.
And here it just
So,
says,
but those
within
don't,
the
those are
boundaries of the
separate,
county.
but those are separate buildings. And we're talking about spending tourist development tax on this facility, this monument, and whether or not
This
that
just
meets
says
the
within the
definition.
boundaries of the county.
Right, it's all, right, the facility that we're spending money on has to be within the county. But we're not spending it on the museum or the Flight Academy, we're spending it on this monument that we're
and
proposing
it
to.
is owned by the city and will be
Here
owned
it's-
and maintained by the city.
Yes, the city owns the museum.
They
Here it
will-
says the promotion of one of them.
An agreement with us to make,
Okay,
okay? But we have no ownership,
okay.
you know?
So the city's going to maintain it after it's completed, Chris?
With an agreement with us, right? Because what I mean by that is because you can't expect the city to know how to clean airplanes, right? So we will make it, we will have the provision, we would be providing the city those services to clean the aircraft once a year, to say power wash the deck, you know, replace the flag when it requires replacement. So there's a general maintenance that needs to be set aside for specifically the monument and plaza, right? And
So your organization's going to fundraise later on down the road, and you guys will give back that service to the city, is that correct?
Right, and that's
Okay.
why I said that we're looking to
Okay.
raise at least the 2.5 million, so we
Right.
have that
Okay.
set aside, you know?
Okay.
We're figuring it's about a $6,000 a year cost for maintenance of the
Okay.
project. Because we don't have to worry about the landscape. You know, that's all gonna be taken care of by the city.
Okay.
talk the
So-
numbers?
So
Do
do
you
we,
want to talk numbers, or?
well, if it's, I think we need to determine whether or not it's an authorized use before we even identify which numbers. I think if it is an authorized use, the Attorney General will tell us that, and she's pretty quick on doing those opinions, I believe.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say that when this process first began, and the organization was told what they needed to do each step of the way, they were told that this was the appropriate step. And something that I've noticed in this process, just my observation, it seems that there's been a lot of cat and mouse. And I strongly believe that, well, let me not say strongly believe. It seems disingenuous because they've done everything they needed to do. People didn't think they would get all those signatures. I was one of the people knocking on doors getting signatures. They got the city and the county on both sides of the bridge to agree on something, which you all know is very rare and hard to do. They brought everyone together, and here it is, when they do everything that they were told, they come before this board, who they were told this was the appropriate board to come to, correct?
Yes.
And now, it's just another hiccup, just another, I'll just say deflection, when this was the promise. So I'd be interested in learning why you were told you needed to come here, and now why you're being told that this is not where you're supposed to come.
I'm not exactly sure why. I mean, from the cultural standpoint, I think it satisfies that agreement. Whether or not a facility has a roof on it, I think is inconsequential. It still can be considered, I mean, an open-air arena, right? I mean, Maritime Park doesn't have a roof on it, for crying out loud, right? And so and you would consider that a cultural center, right? Because people play baseball in America. So I think, in my opinion, I think that we have a very strong argument here. I think that I can't imagine anybody claiming that this would not fall under tourist development and falling under the cultural provision of that document. And particularly today, when we're looking to try to unify this country, I think this would be putting a big flag in the front of Pensacola. It wouldn't hurt anybody, especially one flag, our American flag. So thank you. If there's any other questions.
I don't have any other questions, but I don't think anybody on this council has said that we do not want to fund this. What we said is what we're trying to do is verify that these funds actually may be used to fund this project. We were told originally this group was going to raise all of the funding through private fundraising efforts, that they were not going to use any public dollars for this project. Here we are with a $750,000 request. The city has funded $250,000. The state has funded $700,000. So I take personal offense about this cat and mouse conversation. I think there's been a lot of conversation, and this whole thing has been very fluid. I think it's a great opportunity for our community to recognize General James and his effort and the work that you guys have done in bringing the plane down here, getting it rehabbed and painted and everything set up is just a Superman effort. I mean, it has been unbelievable. We just need to make sure that we are authorized to spend this money this way. And just because we think it may meet the statute doesn't mean it does meet the statute. And if it does, the Attorney General will let us know. And then we will be here talking about what dollars we can spend on this project.
Well, if you wouldn't mind, I mean, with that said, I would like to know if $750, I think, is it a reasonable ask? And two, if we do get, say, the green light from, is it Mrs. Moody, that's the Attorney General we're talking about, then would we have to wait another 2 months before we meet, or is there something that could be done in the process? Because I'm prepared, let's just put it this way, if I knew I had the money coming, I'm prepared to start signing contracts. I'm ready to start initiating what I would need to initiate to get people to start working. You know, because even though it's August and October may seem a little further down the line, it's going to be here tomorrow. And it's going to require me to get those things in line to get people working and get this thing done. ultimately, I mean, in a perfect world, if we were funded and we had this done, we were looking to have this thing done, say, first quarter of 2024. And why? We would invite the currently selected Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Brown, who happens to be a black 4-star general, fighter pilot, okay, and probably may have even been introduced to General James to be our honored guest and speaker for our actual dedication event. That will have national repercussions. People around the country will be made aware of that, and we will make every effort to nationally broadcast it. And so I think, and it'll be a very positive message, and I think that's exactly where Pensacola wants to find itself.
Any other questions or comments?
No, but I would like to know where, I mean, if we get to a point where this is an authorized expenditure, then where we would, which penny we would draw from and what that would do to the other, I think Stefan got sidetracked.
Do we need to queue up the other gentleman here?
Hey, well, Stefan's on the way back, so we'll just see.
There he is.
Yeah, and guys, I'll bring it. I believe the board would approve that because we'll make that request. But the only other issue I would say is that can be a lengthy process. I mean, once you send it over there, I mean, it might take a minute to get back. But where would we pull this 750 from to finish this off?
So Commissioner, we